Do you think business success is about credentials, fancy resumes, or who you went to school with? Well, Daniel Lubetzky, the founder of Kind Snacks and now a shark on Shark Tank, says you're looking at it all wrong. He recently laid out 4 core principles that, in his view, separate businesses that soar from those who sputter out. In this video, I'm breaking down those 4 principles and how you can start applying them today. First off, just for a little context, Daniel Lubetzky founded Kind, the Kind bars. And I actually like Kind bars. I eat I think it's the dark chocolate with the sea salt. Those are my favorite. But anyway, Daniel Lubetzky founded Kind and he scaled it into this massive brand. And then he sold part of it, and now he is mentoring founders on Shark Tank. In a talk that he did at the Clover Shark Tank Summit, he rejected the idea that resumes and credentials are the real keys. Instead, he emphasized 4 deeper drivers. And those 4 drivers that he emphasized are community, value over skills, reflection, and resilience. His public remarks at the summit clearly laid out these 4 things that he thinks really matters. And so in this video, I'm going to walk through each of those 4 things with examples and some actionable takeaways that you can take away. And so the first success principle, or the first thing that he talked about, was community. That's the first one, community. Lubetzky says that business starts with people. It starts with employees, with customers, and partners. He quoted a South African proverb. He says, "We're only human because of other humans." And he argued that companies, they must build a sense of belonging and not just selling products. And I think that matters so much today because people are, in the day we live in, people want to know more about, they don't want everything to be just transactional. That's what I'm trying to say. In the past, customers just wanted to make a transaction and that's it. But today, it's a little deeper than that. They want to know more about the company. They want to know more about the founder of the company. So today, that's why personal brands are so big today, because the customers want to engage with your personal brand. And so why does this matter? Well, when your employees, customers, and stakeholders feel like they're a part of something, they tend to invest more emotionally. They don't just invest with their dollars, but they also invest emotionally. And when they invest emotionally, then you have trust, you have loyalty, because they will stay with you a lot longer when they are fully invested, even emotionally. And then once you have their trust and their loyalty, then you will have word of mouth. And because they're going to tell their friends, their family, all about the things that they like. And so you're going to have word of mouth. And all of these things that I just said, they flow from community. And then the last reason why this matters is because in tough times, you don't just fight for survival, you fight together. And so when you are part of a community, communities fight together. And so those are some reasons why this matters. Now, how do you put that into action? Well, you start by defining a clear why. What is your why? You've heard it before. Simon Sinek, start with why. What is your why? What is your purpose beyond profits? Because yes, you need profits, but it can't be all about profits. There also has to be a why, and because that goes way beyond the profits. And then the next thing is how you can put this into action is you can create rituals, create stories, or create these things around your brand, and then create things that are internal to you that reinforce that the community aspect that reinforce that we are all in this together. And then the last thing you can do is invite customers into this process. Invite that customer participation. You like feedback loops. Obviously you want to always be collecting reviews. And so that you can, again, when they start spreading that word of mouth, what they're becoming are brand ambassadors. And so they're a part of your tribe, and they are out spreading that message. And so those are some things that you can do. All right, principle number 2. Principle number 2, he said, was hire for values, not resumes. So what does that mean? He's saying that skills, basically what this means is skills can be taught. So don't hire just for skills. Hire for values, because values cannot be taught. And so you can always train someone on the necessary skills, but you cannot always train someone to have the same values that you have. They kind of got to already have the values that you have. And so it's hard to train that. It's not impossible, but it's much harder to train values than it is skills. And so with skills, all you need is a little bit of time. All you need is some on-the-job training, and you can teach them skills. But values, that's more personal. That's values is more about your character and about what you believe. And so it's a much harder thing to teach people. And they may not value what you value. And so trying to teach them to value something different is a challenge within itself. That's why you just want to hire people that already have the values that your company has. And so Lubetzky challenges the traditional hiring obsessions with credentials. For the longest time, the hiring process has been all about credentials, about degrees, about certifications, about all these things that matter a little bit, but they don't matter as much as some other things. They definitely don't matter as much as what a person values. They don't matter as much as a person's character, because a person can have more degrees than a thermometer, but if they got bad character, you don't want to work with them. And so he says that while resumes show past experience, it tells you nothing about whether this person will live out your culture or whether they will act with integrity. And that's important. They need to have integrity. And so the resume won't necessarily tell you that. The resume doesn't tell you how they handle adversity, because adversity always comes. That's just a part of life. And so resume can tell you nothing about a person's ability to handle adversity or what they do in the face of adversity. And so those things matter way more than their credentials. Again, why does this matter? It matters because a value-aligned person will stick with you through thick and thin. They'll stick with you through ambiguity, through conflict. They'll stick with you through stress way better than someone with the perfect resume. And then another thing is misalignment on the core values. It often leads to dilution of your culture. It leads to high turnover, and it leads to a lot of friction in your company. And so what can you do? Well, before hiring, you need to define, if you have not already done this, define your core values. What are your core values? What are 3 to 5 key principles? Or you can have more, but 3 to 5 is a good start. What are your key principles, the key values that you refuse to compromise on? Put those into play. And in the interviews, ask these behavioral type questions. So that, because when you ask these behavioral questions, like what would they do in these situations, it can oftentimes show you their values, right? You learn what you can learn what they would do in this situation, and it will tell you their values. And then you want to invest in onboarding and mentoring that reinforce your values consistently. Once you get them on, you want to always be trained and talk on your values all the time. It's got to be an ongoing thing. All right. Principle number 3. Principle number 3 was reflection or introspection. So what does that mean? Reflection. What does that mean? Well, in a hyper connected world, Lubetzky is basically warning us of losing clarity. And so he's saying you need to have some time to reflect, right? He says that you need to carve out some time, some quiet time daily, at the most daily, where, that you can have some reflection, some introspection about what's going on. You can ask yourself, what's going well right now? What's not going so well right now? What are some things that need to change? Like, all of these things are like reflective introspective questions that you can ask yourself to get a gauge on where you are and where you're going. Now, again, why does this matter? Well, without reflection, you just accumulate noise. And you accumulate noise, and then you miss trends, you miss the shifts that happen in the market, and it can allow you to fail to course correct because you don't see it coming because you haven't taken a moment to pause and see what's going on around you. They call that, you've heard the term, working on your business instead of in your business, right? When you're in your business, you can't see out, but you have to get up and above and look out and see what's going on. That's basically what we're saying here. Because what this does is it keeps you grounded and it keeps you aligned with your purpose, and it helps you to see those blind spots, or it helps you to recognize that you may have some blind spots, and you can talk to people or talk to someone you trust to help you to figure out those blind spots. All right, the last principle number 4, is resilience. Why? Because resilience beats perfection. Lubetzky says that resilience is the thing that it trumps perfection. And he's been very open about the failed ventures that he's had. He said that he's had many ventures and he started so many things that failed. But he also said that you only need to succeed once, because you can have many failures. And if you look at any successful person that's done anything, if you're able to peel back the layers, or if you go back far enough in their history, you can see that they had many failures. Nobody's an overnight success. You can see they've had many failures. But like he said, you only need that one win to succeed. You're only one thing away from everything changing. And so basically what he says is he does not see failure as the end. It's basically something there to teach you. So all you got to do is get back up. Because if you can get back up, and take the lessons that you learn, then you can live to fight another day. And so why does this matter? Well, if you wait to be perfect, you'll never get started. That's why this matters. You cannot wait to be perfect. As a matter of fact, you need to start with imperfect situations. Most of the time, you will start with imperfect situations, because if you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never get started. Also, resilience allows you to pivot mid-course. When you have resilience, it allows you to adapt under pressure, right? Because if you don't have resilience, then when the pressure squeezes you, then it's going to knock you out. But when you've built up some resilience, you can adapt under pressure, and you can learn how to persist when things look dark. And then another thing about resilience, it also builds your credibility, because when people seen that you've been resilient through some things in your life, it gives you credibility. It gives you a lot of street cred, because people understand that you know how to go through things and get back up. And so it brings you credibility with investors, with employees, with customers, because they see that someone can get back up after a fall. And so what do? Well, how do you do this? You reframe your setbacks. You reframe it. Like it's all a matter of perspective, right? It's not necessarily what happens to you. It's your perspective of what happened to you. It's the story that you tell yourself about what happened to you. That's what it really is. And so if you tell yourself a negative story about what happened to you, then it can't help you. But if you lean into what happened to me and take it as a lesson learned, then you're much better off. And so whenever things go wrong, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this right now? That is the most powerful question that you can ask yourself. You can't, not The question is not, well, why me? Or why is this going on in my life? That's not the question. The question is, what is this teaching me? What am I supposed to learn from this? That's a more empowering question. And so, because here's the thing about failing, like these things, they teach you, they come to teach you. And I suggest, or I recommend that you start fast, because when you start fast, you can experiment faster and you can fail faster and you can see what won't work faster and you can get back up and try the next thing. And so don't belabor it. Like, get to it, because you'll learn faster what won't work. And the faster you learn what won't work, the faster you are to finding out what will work. All right, so there you have it. These are Lubetzky's 4 pillars: community, values over resumes, reflection, and resilience. Those are the 4 things. Now, don't let the simplicity of this fool you, because each of these demands sacrifice. They demand consistency. You have to be consistent and you have to be courageous. And so don't let the simplicity of it fool you. It's simple, but it's powerful. And if you embrace this framework, you'll attract the right people who operate from the same foundation. You'll also stay grounded even when there's a crisis. You'll also bounce back stronger from any failures that you have, and you'll build a business that endures. It's not just a flash in the pan, overnight, fly-by-night business. You'll build something that lasts. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you found this information useful, then do me a favor. Hit like and subscribe so that I can bring you more high-impact business insights just like this. And drop a comment below. Let me know which one of these 4 principles resonated with you the most, or which ones have you neglected. And the last thing is, share this with somebody who you think that this will be helpful for. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.